The dead live, and they are coming for you. Rising from the grave, they kill those they can't claim and claim those they can't kill. A disease that turns every man, woman and child into hungry undead vectors of its spread. Zombies. But beyond the fantastical and mystical, what is the actual science of these plagues? And how could such a plague manifest in our world? Tonight, we dissect the biology of the undead and ask, how close are we to a world of the living dead? We must first cover what it is we are talking about. But this is surprisingly difficult. What is a zombie? Traditionally, zombies are undead, corpses awoken from death to wander the earth and kill people. But over time, the term has been used for many different kinds of beings. Yes, some zombies are corpses that have been awoken, but many are just people infected with a disease that turns them into zombies. Most zombies are slow and shuffling, like in the Walking Dead universe, but in the World War Z universe, they are anything but. Instead, they are fast-moving, stronger than most people, or at least more voracious. Once they get their hands on you, they will tear you limb from limb. Others vary in intelligence. Most cannot even manage a word, but others are so intelligent they can even coordinate and plan attacks. Most zombies are decaying, rotting shambles of their former selves, but stay very lively, even being immortal in some cases. This makes defining what zombies are challenging. There isn't really a single defining trait that unifies all these different kinds of so-called zombies. In taxonomy, we call this a nomina dubia, a term that has lost meaning and is no longer descriptive. Regardless, there are things common to most zombies. So I will be focusing on what I call biological zombies. People infected with a disease that turns them into creatures that kill and spread their affliction to others. In death, they no longer need what life requires. Breath, blood, warmth, all are optional. Only movement remains, and the desire for people's flesh. Throughout the multiverse, many different kinds of plague fit this definition. But each disease is so different that it couldn't be caused by the same pathogen. The only explanation for this diversity is that each plague is caused by a different disease, a different pathogen. In biology, we call this convergent evolution. This is when different creatures find their own way to do the same thing. A commonly used example of this is flight. Pterosaurs, insects, bats, and birds can all fly, but each of them independently found their own way to do it, creating their own version of a wing to take to the skies. Except here, each disease has found its own way to turn people into undead monsters. But how could these pathogens do this? Most zombie plagues are spread by a bite from an infected. This is not unusual in nature. You might not know it, but your skin is part of your immune system. It is your first line of defense, operating 24/7 to keep diseases out of your body. And it is the first target for zombies. Diseases like rabies cause the host to become wild, erratic, and violent, encouraging them to bite potential victims. This breaks the skin, allowing the pathogen to flood into your body. But there is still an important matter to deal with: the immune system. Humans have an army of cells dedicated to finding and destroying foreign pathogens. So what is a zombie disease to do? The Cordyceps fungus works around this problem by overwhelming the immune system with huge amounts of infectious fungus in the Last of Us universe. The mouths of the infected are filled with more than enough cordyceps to overwhelm the immune system. When an infected bites you, the fungus uses the break in the skin to push infectious tendrils into the flesh. It then feeds and grows into the human host. There are simply not enough cells in the immune system to beat the infection back, and the immune system is destroyed in the process. The fungus then replaces the immune system by producing antibiotics to keep the host as fresh and healthy as possible. A puppeteer that heals what it needs and discards what it doesn't. The Solanum virus in the World War Z universe seems to do something similar, but with the addition of overwhelming speed, a biological blitzkrieg to infect you before your immune system can do anything about it. Another strategy zombie plagues may use is to hide from the immune system. Rabies does this by getting into our nervous system. Immune cells cannot access the nervous system, so rabies infects and hides in the cells of our nervous system, especially the neurons in our brains. The zombie plague could use this combination of strategies. Once inside the brain, the plague manipulates its host. Different plagues do this in different ways. In the Walking Dead universe, the wildfire virus hijacks the brain and slowly kills its host. Then it reanimates the brain, but only the brainstem, just enough to resurrect basic functions and instincts like hunger for flesh. Most zombie pathogens I've analyzed keep their hosts healthy and able to fight despite substantial damage or infection. And I think I know how. In The Last of Us, the Cordyceps keeps its host alive and fresh by using a series of antibiotics, as I mentioned before. You see, fungi are also victims of infection, just like us. Bacteria, viruses, and even other fungi can harm and infect them. So what is a fungus to do? The answer is chemical warfare. Fungi, like plants, produce huge cocktails of chemicals within themselves. Chemicals that kill anything that tries to infect them. They infect and refuse to get infected. They can easily use these antibiotics on their host to keep them healthy and free of bacteria that would rot their bodies.
And it gets worse. The fungus needs food to live, so it begins to devour its host from within, replacing the ant's flesh with its own. But it doesn't let its victim die, no. It keeps its puppet alive by preventing decomposition. How? Where do we get penicillin from?
Fungus.
But other zombie diseases don't even bother to keep their hosts healthy, just functional. Zombies from Marvel, The Walking Dead, and many others are basically shuffling corpses, rotting, decaying, or bleeding, but still managing to move, even if only barely. So how do they move even when their organs are damaged, unable to breathe, or after they've lost blood? After all, blood and organs are not just for decoration. Without them, toxins build up and cells shut down. The only explanation is that zombie plagues take over the jobs that most organs do. The plague breaks down toxins and may even supply oxygen to the muscles and nerves. Supplying oxygen might not even be necessary. Muscles can work without oxygen. Many organisms can create energy to move without oxygen, even humans. This is called anaerobic respiration. So why isn't it more common? Why bother with oxygen at all? Anaerobic respiration simply doesn't create nearly as much energy, and a lot of lactic acid is created in the process. This is why your muscles burn when you exercise, or why your lungs burn when you hold your breath. But if the zombie pathogen can destroy all toxins, including acids, the muscles and nerves can still work even when the body is damaged. It is difficult to say how the zombies get their energy, especially because most zombies don't have working digestive systems. Maybe the plague slowly eats its host and uses the energy to animate their bodies. This would explain why some types of zombies seem to slowly rot. Stranger things have happened after all. There are even bacteria called exoelectrogenic bacteria that can create electricity. A zombie pathogen could do something similar, slowly feeding on its host to create the chemical or electrical energy to make the host move. Of course, that would slowly destroy the host body, which again explains the slow decay. Through this ability, a zombie pathogen could even raise corpses from the grave, so long as the flesh is relatively fresh. But what is the most likely disease in our world to cause a zombie apocalypse? And are you prepared? Comment below. And to stay updated on the biology of the bizarre, stay tuned to the Evolutionary Institute. You never know what information about these zombies could help you in the upcoming zombie outbreak. And if you think a zombie apocalypse isn't possible, remember, life finds a way. Computer, close entry.